Packer Nation morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, which is nice. Hump day. Getting closer to the weekend, getting closer to the big-time matchup. Green Bay Packers versus the Houston Texans. I almost said the Tennessee Texans. I don't know why that came to mind. Packers got to get one at a time. Well, let me know who you are, where you're coming at me from. We'll do a little Packer Nation roll call as we get started this morning. Talking about NFC North remaining schedule. Marcus is here, says, boom, baby. Sean, what is up, bro? All right. Yeah, I want to talk about the remaining schedule for the NFC North because it is going to be, and we said this very early in the season. We said how interesting the NFL has made it now that they have inter-division rival games for every single last game of the season. Tim is here. Marcus says, win out from Iowa. All right. Yeah, win out. Definitely. Looking to do that. I don't know. It took one step at a time. They took one this past Monday. Going to keep going, hopefully. Vanessa is here. Trent is here. Maurice is here as well. Bryce, good to see you from Iowa. I got to get the Precious on this morning. I didn't do that. So, yeah, well, before we get started, let's see who else is on. Kevin from Ulster County. All right. New York represented. Good deal. Chase is here as well. Yeah, before we get started, I actually left my stat sheet behind, but I want to do Circle the Stat because I've got one that I don't know if you guys noticed specifically, but I wanted to talk about here. And I know everybody felt it, but I'm just going to open the show with this because this was one of the most important. It's something we kept talking about. Hi, Virginia. Hi, Ernie. From Victoria, British Columbia. Awesome. I've never been to British Columbia. I had a friend that lived there in Kamloops, I think. I would love to get out that way. John is here. Hey, buddy. As always, say hello to your mom and dad for me. Manuel and Solomon as well. All right, guys, Circle the Stat. This is important to me. I'm just doing one today, which is really what Circle the Stat is supposed to be. I usually try to just pick out one. Of course, after the game, we went through like all the stats because it was good to see, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to finally see that interception and to see the 4 sacks. Hi, Browen. Hi, Heather. Hi, another Heather, perhaps. Hi, Douglas and Johnny as well. But today I want to talk about one on the offensive side that maybe you didn't notice specifically. I know we all felt it, though. And that is this. Did you notice the point spread for Green Bay? Quarter 1, 7 points. Quarter 2, 7 points. Quarter 3, 3 points. Quarter 4, 10 points. We finally played 4 quarters of football on the offense. You might argue we didn't do quite the same on the defensive side, but in quarter 4, we pitched a shutout. Quarter 3, we only gave up 3 points. Quarter 2, we only gave up 3 points. That point spread, offense and defense, and then we add our special teams played well as well, especially the coverage units. You spread that out like that, and what we finally see is this team playing 4 quarters of football. Now, if they continue to do this, which is, of course, it's almost like knock on wood at this point that they do, but if they continue to do this, we're going to find ourselves in ball games. I think it's a big if because we've seen what can happen when this team gets a win, then they come back and find a way to stall out. And this game against the Texans is going to be no picnic. We know that. But it is good to see. Zachary Adien, Phil, and my buddy Rick is on. I want to know why we didn't score again towards the end of the game. Because we didn't break the plane of the goal with the football. All right. So, yeah, we got to play the Texans. But today I wanted to talk about, because now, and we know the Packers have to focus on one game at a time. We all understand that. However, as fans, this is December football now, and now is the time. The reason December football gets so electric is because all of the scenarios start to come into play. Now we know there's so much football behind us and so much schedule laid out on the table that we begin to understand. What the situation is. And I see the comment. I didn't catch the name, but I see the comment that the Eagles moved the ball pretty easily on our defense. Man. I felt good about our offense like the entire game. When you talk about the point spread, that's the one I mean when I know you guys all felt it. Like you felt like the offense, for some reason, they were just clicking. Defense, I didn't feel that way. I was worried about the defense for the last 3 quarters. They pitched a shutout in the 4th. But yeah, no, I didn't have the same feeling about the defense. I really, you looked at them and you're like, man, anytime now, you kind of felt. So we still have a ways to go, definitely, with this defense. Obviously, it helped to have Randall back. He's going to need to continue to get healthy. On the offensive side of the ball, Marcus is mentioning, we still don't have a running game. I wouldn't 100% agree with that because I thought Ripkowski brought us a typical short yardage running game. Now, of course, on the front side of the drive, you need a running game to get yourself into 3rd and short. But I feel like Ripkowski really showed something in terms of if we have, 3rd and goal on the 2-yard line, I feel like we have somebody that we now are going to have to count on. But yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm looking to see what I want to see what Christine Michael can do. I want to see him start getting more carries. We relied on James Starks. It was very obvious that James Starks was the guy in the game against the Eagles. For whatever reason, if Michael wasn't ready, I said I clearly he's not ready for pass pro. You can't get ready that fast. I mean, you can get a running back ready to run the ball if he knows what gap to hit. He's all right, or if he knows it's a zone read play, can probably do all right. But you don't want to get that guy back there and have to pick up a blitz. So hopefully he's ready to go as of this week. Again, short week coming off the Monday night game, but hopefully he's ready to go. Jared is here. I want to see the guy play. He got 4 yards, and I said yesterday that, 20 personnel grouping, 2 tailbacks, no tight ends, 3 receivers. If you get Ripkowski and you give Christine Michael a chance behind him, we might really see him do something. And again, we're still waiting for this offensive line to start getting back to health as well. However, it was very good to see them play that well out there on Monday night. We're going to need to keep that up because it's going to be another tough defensive line. No J.J. Watt, but still, Jadeveon Clowney, going to be a challenge for our offensive line. So I think we're up to that challenge. I'm less concerned about the offensive line than I was a couple weeks ago because I saw them. They've played well all season, but I saw that the production truly drop off when, not just because we didn't have a running back there, but because we started to get banged up. All right. However, it's decent. It's nice to talk about a win. I'm thankful all of Thanksgiving. I was just thankful after Thanksgiving, to talk about a win. So here we are, and we got one more at a time that we're going to have to take care of. Texans coming up. All right. With that said, let's talk about Detroit's remaining schedule. And they start off with the Saints. Now, the Saints, I think, is very interesting. The Saints can score some points. Now, Drew Brees has been keeping that team in games. We will see. That's one that I could see. Okay, so let's go down the road. The Lions play the Saints, then they play the Bears, then they've got the Giants and the Cowboys still yet to play. Finally finishing at home against us, against the Packers. They're at 7-4. You look at that schedule; they could drop 3 games before they meet the Packers, and now they're even up. And I could very legitimately see the Saints beating the Lions right now. The Lions are on a roll. They started the season with like a 3-game skid after week 1, but now they're on a 3-game winning streak, I do believe. However, the Saints are going to be a tough test for them. Obviously, the Bears, the Bears come into it, and the Bears are kind of the basement dwellers of the NFC North right now. However, that's a rivalry game. And look at what the Bears did to Minnesota. So I think it's a difficult road for the Detroit Lions right now. Personally, I think Minnesota has a better shot at coming out unscathed of this final run of games than Detroit does. And remember, Detroit's history is to fall apart. Stafford is playing good ball. He's not playing as good as Aaron Rodgers right now. But Stafford is playing good ball. He's actually playing better, I think, since Megatron exited. This is a team that's playing. They've got some confidence right now. However, I think they are looking at their remaining schedule. It could be big trouble for the Detroit Lions. We'll be keeping an eye, of course, on these NFC North rivalry games around the league. But starting with the Saints and then finishing with the Giants, Cowboys, and the Packers, there's 4 of them there, including the head-to-head with us. We already have, the one win against Detroit. We're one of the teams that put them down. So if we, of course, if we end up with a tie and one of those is that loss, the final game of the season, it's going to get super, super interesting. Now we're going to start breaking down all of the rules by which they determine the winner at that, the tiebreaker at that point. So now Minnesota, on the other hand, right now at second in the division, hopefully not for long. They've got the Cowboys coming up, and I can't see Minnesota beating the Cowboys. I don't know if anybody else out there has Minnesota upsetting the Cowboys right now. Of course, they're in the NFC East. We want those Cowboys to just go ahead. They can just go ahead and take that division. We're not going to be in any running whatsoever. If we do find a way to sneak in backwards into the playoffs at this point, we're not going to have any chance, excuse me, at any home field advantage. So those Cowboys can go ahead and beat the Minnesota Vikings. Then the Vikings play the Jaguars, the Colts, then they come to Lambeau, and then finish with the Bears. I think they've got an easier strength of schedule finishing out than the Detroit Lions do. They are, however, at 6-5, but with their strength being their defense, I think the Vikings have a chance of ending up on top of the Detroit Lions as well. You look at that Cowboys game, I don't expect them to win that, but you would expect the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Jaguars. That's not a given either. It wasn't a given when we played them. It's not a given for them either, but you can see them winning that one. They play the Colts as well, and then they finish with the Bears. And of course, we want the Packers to beat them in between there. So I can see I don't see them beating the Cowboys. We know that the Colts are, they beat us, but they're not a world beater team right now. However, they may be hitting their stride as well. And if they could lose to the Cowboys, lose to the Packers, but let's say they run the table then the rest of the way, they end up with 2 losses out of that, and so they only end up with 7. They end up 9-7 at that point. So what does that mean for Green Bay? Well, that means basically we know we need to run the table. But if we don't run the table, let's say we drop one in there to the Seahawks, I think we then end up at 10-6 and may still very well be into the playoffs with the NFC North at that point. However, and again, I'm going to keep saying the disclaimer. I'm not saying that we don't need to take one game at a time. The team needs to take one game at a time. We as fans, we get to start projecting now, and this is interesting. And Lindsay's saying Indy is wishy-washy. It could go either way, and that's what we want them, especially since they beat us. We want them to come in and get the line on those Vikings and make sure and knock them off. So if the Packers beat them, if the Colts beat them, we expect the Cowboys to beat them. The Bears have already beaten them. It could get interesting at that point. Ever since Norv left those Vikings, they were kind of in a tailspin already, and there's a little instability in the organization. However, they are looking to get Adrian Peterson. He is ahead of schedule is what the word is right now. Personally, I don't think that they can generate a running game with anybody back there. They are really struggling in the run game. So Minnesota now relying on Bradford slinging the ball around, and that has proven because defenses don't have to pick their poison anymore with no AD on the field. They can just make sure and cover up Stephon Diggs and take care of business. And the Vikings are kind of in a tailspin at this point. So yeah, I see definite loss to the Cowboys, I would expect. Now, if the Vikings turn around and do something and beat somehow the Cowboys, that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows. That's going to be very interesting. Yola says, love the shirt. Yeah, the Talk Nerdy to Me shirt. Yeah. And of course, we know, our schedule, we got the Texans. That's not going to be any walk in the park. A tough defense. This is a playoff team. However, I feel like they're vulnerable to our defense, but every time we say that, the defense finds a way to not ever get home for an entire game. So I got a question about penalties. We talked about that a little bit. The penalties we did on Love It or Leave It Tuesday, yesterday morning, because we had the no call on Jordy Nelson, where the defender just pinned his arm to his side. He attempts a one-arm catch and couldn't make it. But then Jordy Nelson gives a little push off and tippy-toe catch. I think that was the 4th down play, and so personally, I'm kind of calling it a wash. I don't expect any good calls. This is a bad year for reffing. There have been for a little bit here, since about 2008, there have been some, halfway decent. So we had that debacle with the Seahawks. The reffing has not been as awful as it could be, but this year's a bad year, I think. So anyway, back to Green Bay's strength of schedule. This Texans game, of course, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And then the Seahawks, so I think obviously the pinnacle game for the Green Bay Packers, if they're going to prove anything, is this game against the Seahawks, December 11th. That is going to be huge. Right now, the way the defense is playing, could we hold up against the Seahawks, against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks? I've got to wonder about that. Now, that said, remember, there is the possibility, if we look at the way the schedule lays out for the other two teams, that the Packers could still drop one and possibly it might still be enough. But obviously, that game against the Seahawks, I think, is going to be, and Gary's saying the Sea Chickens, is definitely going to be a pinnacle game. I think that's a pivotal game for our season. However, following that game, then you've got the 3 NFC North games. So you got the Bears, you got the Vikings, then you finish out with the Detroit Lions in Detroit. So I feel like the Packers, a couple weeks ago, you look at that Vikings team, they already beat us once. So we got to be awfully careful there. We get them at Lambeau, but Lambeau Field has not really been much of an advantage, to be honest, lately. Let's hope they turn it on in December. Let's hope we get a running game, because running the ball in December at Lambeau is crucial. Now, if we can do that, then yes, we can beat the Vikings. They're in a tailspin anyway. If we do that, we're going to have a chance to be competitive against Seattle. And if we do that, then we're going to have a chance to find ourselves going to Detroit with a chance to win the division. Now, that game could very well, again, Detroit could surprise us too. I think they've got a tougher schedule finishing out, but they could surprise us. They're playing some good football right now, and they are ahead in the division. So they've got a little momentum. They're riding a 3-game winning streak. Our Packers could be going to Detroit and truly kicking and scratching just to try and get a playoff berth by that point. So the spectrum of what we can do is amazing right now. However, once again, we find it. Look at the Minnesota has to play this NFC East team. They got to play the Cowboys. Detroit has 2 of them still on the schedule. They've got the Giants and the Cowboys. The Giants are playing good football right now. They are playing good football, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if the Giants don't take Detroit. I'm not sure if that game is home or away for Detroit. So the spectrum of what could happen down the stretch, it could be, obviously, if we continue to play and stall out for quarters at a time, we could be out of it. However, we could be playing for the division title in Detroit, or we could have it by the time we get there. Anything can happen right now, but it's going to be extremely interesting, especially to my mind, since Detroit has such a rough road. They've got a tough road to hoe, and I just really don't see them not dropping at least 2 games in that stretch. And I would say probably 3. If you're assuming a Packer win, which we can't assume, we got to play at Detroit. But if you're assuming a Packer win, I see them ending up, with an even record, honestly, at the end of maybe 8-8 or maybe 9-7. So we'll see. So anyway, yeah, it's going to be super, super interesting, and it all starts with the Texans. I was so looking forward to, and you can heart me right now, if you were looking forward to, even though it makes their team better, I wanted to see J.J. Watt get to play at Lambeau Field. I was really looking forward to that. J.J. Watt, Wisconsin boy, sort of homegrown guy, UW Badger, phenom, takes the NFL by storm. I mean, has just been absolutely the best defender. This is a defensive player who's in the conversation for league MVP. Are you kidding me? I mean, and legitimately in the conversation. Maurice says we should go sign J.J. Watt. I've got my eyes on T.J. Watt now because T.J. Watt, as of this past Saturday, T.J. Watt had 2.5 more sacks than his brother with 9.5 sacks this season. And J.J.'s senior year had 7, I believe, at the same point in the season. So I've got my eye on T.J. These Badgers are putting out some good linebackers right now, defensive linemen and defensive ends, obviously, in J.J. But yeah, the concern I have with J.J. now is, he's really been seriously injured in the last couple of years. I'm not sure. Let's go crazy and get them both. Oh man, can you imagine? Obviously, we wouldn't have Julius Peppers at that point, but seriously, Clay Matthews, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt behind Jake Ryan, Nick Perry, with Kenny Clark, or no, let's just put Daniels at the 0 or the 1 technique. Yeah, that could be very, very interesting. And Gary's saying TT won't spend money for either Watt. But maybe he's not here at the end of the season. Now, here's one of the conversations I do want to mention, and I think you guys will all be interested in this as well. Maybe you've had this conversation with your friends. I was texting back and forth with my cousin last night, Jeff up in Madison, Not Just Kitchens. If you need your kitchen redone in the Madison area, look up Jeff Augustine. Not Just Kitchens is the name of the company. He does a fantastic job, fantastic work. What we were talking about is, what happens if the Packers find a way to back into the playoffs now? Does that mean that we once again sort of brush all the problems we've had under the carpet? We feel like it's okay because, hey, we made it anyway. We still made it. You're looking at if we back in, maybe we get a wild card and then play and then lose in the second round. Will all of these problems get brushed under the table? Now, I think that this offseason, we have some soul searching to do, and you can thumbs up me if you agree that this offseason, this team's got some soul searching to do. I think we're at a turning point. I truly do. We've got Julius Peppers to consider. What are we going to do with him? We've got, Aaron Rodgers isn't getting any younger. He's got a little bit of a hammy now. Obviously, at the quarterback position, if we have good protection, which locking up Lang was important. If we have good protection, he could play for many years, but he's not getting any younger, folks. Are we going to see this sort of cycle again, where problems are not addressed? Nobody's brought in except second or third tier free agents, and we look to undrafted guys, and this, I give credit for Ted Thompson for doing a great job finding diamonds in the rough. But sometimes you just have to go buy a diamond off the shelf. You just have to go get it. Get the one it's a finished product. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Yes, it's costly, but the cost is worth it because of the value that it possesses. I think we are one. I look at our offense, and our offense, to my mind, is stacked. I don't know where there's a lot of conversation out there about how we don't have any playmakers on offense, and I don't buy that for 1 minute. We have playmakers on offense. They weren't playing well from time to time, but we've got the people. But I think this team is one defensive player short, one defensive star short, and it could be a safety. If we had one more phenomenal player, and of course we know Clay Matthews, with his unable to be healthy and available, has really hurt us in the recent past. We are one defensive player short, I think, of having a sort of perennial. We are a perennial playoff team. It may not be the case this year, but for 7 years now, we've been a playoff team. You can't. There's only a handful of teams that can ever. We're right up there we're tied with the Patriots, or second to the Patriots in that regard in the entire league. What Packers fans are looking for is, we're so close. We need one more dominant player to be to have multiple Super Bowls. And that's, when you look at the Patriots, and it just seems like they're right in the mix for the Super Bowl every year. Well, we are at times in the mix for that, but at other times we just can't get it together. We just don't seem to have the gunpowder to get it done. So I think we're going to have to think about that on the defensive side of the ball, and that's where the concern for Ted Thompson. Now, if we back into the playoffs, are there going to be any changes? There certainly aren't going to be changes from the top. Like I am proposing at this point, I think, really it's personnel to some extent, an availability issue. And others will say it's the head coach. Others will say it's the defensive coordinator. But whatever the case is, whatever you think the answer is, most people agree that we need to do some soul searching and some changes need to be made on this Packer team, regardless of whether we back into the playoffs or not. And at this point, yes, okay, if we win out, we're not even really, then we're 10-5 or 11-5, or 10-6. I'm sorry. Then we're not necessarily backing into the playoffs. That's a decent record anyway. Double digits wins is, something you'll take that any year. However, it's going to feel like it. It sure is going to feel like it, even if we find a way to beat the Seahawks, find a way to run the table, as Aaron Rodgers says he thinks we can do. If you're going to ask me, can we run the table? Well, yeah, we can. Will we run the table? That's a much different question right now. We've got still a lot to prove. We've got the Texans coming up, so we have a chance to show that not only that the Eagles wasn't just a fluke, it wasn't just because we got that call on Jordy Nelson or the no call on Jordy Nelson on the fourth down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We still have questions to answer on the defensive side of the ball. I am not comfortable with the way the defense is playing. I am happy with the scoring, and that is the thing that Dom Capers' defenses are going to tend to do. They're going to play between the 20s, but they're going to do what it takes to keep you out of the end zone. The problem is we haven't been able to do that at all for so long that no one, I think, is comfortable thinking that we're going to do it moving forward, especially you look at a team like the Seahawks. Are we going to be able to do what we did to the Eagles against the Seahawks? I think not. So we'll see what happens going forward. All right, folks, well, that is good enough for me. I hope you have a great Wednesday. I hope you join up in my FireFan League. Get on. You can get FireFan off the Play Store. It's in beta. I keep reminding everybody it's in beta. You're gonna get tokens for free. They're just gonna throw you tokens just for trying it out. It's a public beta, but it is a blast. It's called FireFan. You can get it off Google Play. You can get it off the iTunes App Store. You can get it wherever you want to get it. If you're the kind of person that understands what a beta is and that, there's going to be glitches, that's the reason they're doing it, is to test this thing out in real time. Jump on. Trevor says he can't find my league. It's Packer Domination. And we've had a little trouble with it because I've loaded it in there a bunch of times. But if you find my league, it's called Packer Domination, and you should be able to go in and search. When you hit leagues, there should be a search feature at the top. You should be able to search it. And if you put that in, it should pop up. Now, it will say it's out of Salt Lake City, Utah. The reason for that is that's not an editable content in the game right now. And so it's the company, United Games, that's creating it. Remember, the game is being created by the ex-creative director of EA Sports who did Madden. So it's not a Madden game. It's by any stretch. It's different. But it's a whole lot of fun. The guy really knows gaming. It's a blast. And we saw, those of you who were playing with me saw last night the leaderboard shift because I think I was in the lead for a little bit there, or Jonah was in the lead, I think, and I was second. Well, I stepped away, I think, to do the halftime show, and I ended up missing a couple series, and all of a sudden I plummeted. You can come from behind. You've got pregame picks, some of which that you get scored during the game. You can see them happen. But then at the last, after the game is over, players pick up games because players pick up points at the end because of their pregame picks. Sean says, find me on there. That's how you found the league. That's a great idea. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, you can actually search for players. You can connect with other players. There are, and I forget what it's under, but if you tool around, there's a list of ex-NFL stars and NBA and sports stars. You can follow Jermichael Finley on the game already. He's already in there. The Precious is right here, John. But I'm in the lead right now. And remember, I do want to keep reminding everybody, because as I set this game up, I'm setting it up with like a description that says win the Precious. This is not the league play for the Precious. We're going to start over fresh with that. We're not doing any of that until the game is right for you guys. There was a little misunderstanding. We didn't understand that they were coming out with a public beta until right before Thanksgiving. What we were told and what we understood was the game was going to be ready by Thanksgiving. But I'm not going to, everybody, you can get on, you can play as many leagues as you want. You just set the team once. You can start scoring tons of points. I've already got 500 points, and those points will not count in the league, but they will count toward you redeeming cool Packer stuff, electronics. You can get real-time good stuff. So it's really cool. So what's next season for the Precious? Bryce is asking, what next season for the Precious? If I'm understanding that, the Precious will go to its new owner. If I can peel it off, if I can peel it off my finger, and there will be a new one next year. So, and Gary is saying some glitches, but lots of fun. Yeah, there are definitely some glitches. However, there has been massive improvement already. Remember, I mentioned when this game came out, in about 2 hours, it was the top of iTunes. Within a day, it was the top of Google Play, just like that. They had 43,000 interactions within the game per minute within 2 hours of its release. So this thing is just as huge. It is huge. It's going to be the Facebook of sports is what it's going to be. And you guys are, from now until the end of time, are going to be able to say, I knew FireFan before it was released. I participated in the beta. I signed up before anybody else even knew they could go get it because it didn't exist. It is called FireFan, is the name of the game. Within FireFan, you can set up your own league and play with your friends. And remember, set up as many leagues as you want. You know, you need tokens to play them. That's the only kind of governing factor. But you will make your pick once and you'll play one live game, or you can try. We've had people try to sneak back and forth and play more than one live game. It's fun. I mentioned this, I think, yesterday. My brother came over and we played for 9 hours on Sunday, and it felt like the day just flew by. Normally, if you watch that much football at the end of the day, you just feel fat and lazy. But it flew by and we were watching teams we didn't even care about. This game is going to make football, it's really changing the way you watch football, and it doesn't interfere with your viewing of the game at all. So it's pretty awesome. All right, you're welcome, Keegan. I appreciate you asking these questions. See you later, DM. I know you guys have to head. Oh, good late morning. You're here. Oh, you're just getting on, man. All right, well, that's cool. But yeah, it's called FireFan. Get on. The league is called Packer Domination. Or you can search for me. My name is Brady Augustine. You'll see my ugly mug associated with my account. You can load it. You can get in there if you want to try out the beta. Right now you can create your profile, put your picture on there, tool around, start connecting with people, start creating leagues, name them. You can go to your office and start talking it up and saying, hey, listen, I'm starting this league. Guys, it's coming out, and it's coming out in a couple weeks. It's not like we're going to be waiting around forever, but it's going to be ready here very soon. And as far as the league that we will create for the Precious, you guys will be naming that league. So once I get more information about when it's coming out, we'll talk about that. And we're going to be playing pretty much every game of the playoffs and all the last games that the Packer play. I'm going to try to get you as many games as possible to have a chance to win the Precious. Partly because, to be quite honest, this is no inexpensive. This is no trinket, really. I'm telling you, it's heavy and it's pretty. It's going to look great on somebody's desk. I'm telling you right now. So I want to get as many games in as possible, and I want to get as many games in so there are as many chances for people to figure out the game and get a chance to play. But you can tool around now, and you can start their tricks. You can start to learn, and we're going to start giving you guys tips and tricks on a different website or a different our other Facebook fan page as well. So Bryce is asking, you think the Giants beat the Lions this week? And yes, I do. I think the Giants beat the Lions. Anybody else, you can thumbs up that one or angry face if you disagree. But I think the Detroit Lions are vulnerable, and the Giants are playing. Eli Manning is playing good football right now, and I'm not a fan of Odell Beckham, as I call him. I always call him Odell Beckham. My brother came over and he said, I like the Odell Beckham, but it may be saying too much. It maybe should be Odell Beckchild, but I always call him that. I don't like guys that draw so much attention to himself. Guys that just go out and play. And that's just me, maybe. I know there are a bunch of people that agree with me on that, and they're sick and tired of seeing that kind of crap in the NFL. Then you got guys like J.J. Watt, or who was it? You got Von Miller. You got the very best of the best are the ones that they're doing nothing. The only talking they do off the field is they're down in a soup kitchen on Thanksgiving, giving out food to people. They're Von Miller giving out glasses to children who can't afford to buy glasses. There we go. Yeah. Gary Beckchild, there you go. I like that because, like Rothschild, I like that. Good one, Gary. All right, I'm gonna have to think about changing my name for Odell. Well done, my friend. Well done. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to close it up. But yeah, definitely jump on FireFan if you want. I would love to see every last one of you. The league, I'm going to tell you right now, the league is going to be in the hundreds. Would like to see it in the thousands because I want to see Packer Nation represented. And there are already a ton of Packer leagues you can play in right now. So feel free to tool around. Again, you do one pick. It's just a matter of how many tokens you want to put toward the league. And right now they're just throwing tokens at you guys. They just want you to play so they can get the data that they need to make sure this thing is really smoking hot, and it's going to be awesome. So, all right, folks, Tebow. Oh my gosh, Keegan, we have somebody wrote the name Tebow. Oh wow, there's a blast from the past. Throwing some shadow. Hey Brown, how you doing? All right, folks, well, I'm going to let you go. It is Wednesday. You guys, Thursday is coming with football, and then you roll into Friday. We got some Badger football, college football. I got to generalize a little bit. On Saturday, and then a big Packer game on Sunday. This team's got a short week, but if they can get healthy and if Clay Matthews is okay, I think we're going to have a chance to beat the Texans come Sunday. Have a good one. I will talk to you tomorrow. Same Pack time, same Pack place. Get the ring. Go Pack.